newspaper, of other newspaper publications in the country. We'll be taking a look at stories surrounding ASU's suspension of their 2-week warning strike, and of course, the recent disaster in Niger State over a fuel frenzy that has left about 37 people dead, with governors in the northern part of the country mourning these losses. Joining us in the studio this morning is a regular on the program, a patriotic Nigerian, and one whom I believe loves to lend his deep wealth of knowledge to matters of national interest on Morning Express. Joining us is Mr. Ben Agunloye, political affairs analyst. A very good morning to you, Mr. Ben.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for finding the time to join us on Morning Express. Well, let's kick off with the Senate. I don't know if you've been following the newspaper headline stories that I've been reading. First is the Electoral Amendment Act, which the Senate is proposing quite a number of things. One of them is a mandatory electronic transmission of election results, something that has been canvassed for time and time again by, political observers and individuals who feel like an electronic transmission will be better than the regular transmission of results that we have been used to. What are your thoughts on this, and what is your disposition to the stand of the Senate?
It's not just about transmission. Now, burden of proof.
Yeah.
If you are not preparing to have a discredited and an unacceptable election, you shouldn't be talking about proof after it. Elections should be truthful. Elections should be honest. And where there is truth and honesty, you don't need to argue the facts. So I think that emphasis on burden of proof, it's, for me, not the right place to go. We should be looking at inclusivity. We should be looking at transparency. We should be looking at credibility of the election. We should be looking at making the election acceptable. So the discussion should center around what do we need to do to ensure that our elections are credible enough and acceptable to the electorate and the candidates, and not what to prove after the election. After the election, INEC can come up with substantial compliance. Substantial compliance does not mean that the election was free and fair.
When you say substantial compliance, can you simplify that?
No, when you say substantial compliance, is you ask me to do 10 things. I have done 7 or 8. Yes, these 2 may not have been properly done. But substantially, if I have done 70 or 80%, I think that.
But don't you think that the Senate the Senate is coming up with this proposal due to numerous allegations of sharp practices within INEC that has been ongoing for a number of years? Every time there is an electioneering period, the elections hold, the results are announced, people are agitated, and the fingers are always pointing back to INEC.
That's what I'm saying. If fingers are pointing,
yes,
is it possible to make it impossible for fingers to be pointing?
In what way?
In this age of technology,
in what way?
The answer is yes. By making sure that the process is credible, that the process is transparent, and then acceptable. Because fingers are pointing because it is not acceptable. If you accept it, you will not point fingers.
Yeah.
So why did you not accept it? Those are the things that we should bother our head with addressing. Now, when you come to results, I said, okay, IREV was a good intention. We can see the images. But beyond IREV, we need an electronic collation portal. Before you snap and send that picture, input the result at the polling unit.
Some people might say that the reason why this has not really kicked off is due to the nature of maybe network service in certain areas where these elections hold, in rural communities, in rural areas where you might not have, good network to be able to transmit. So in the process of moving these papers from the rural area to an urban center or at least a place where there might be network, there could be some sharp practices within along that line. That is the argument by so many
And what
people.
we are saying is simple. Why is it that we cannot use the same procedures everywhere?
What procedures?
Apart from election,
Yeah.
are you saying that the people of those rural areas do not deserve telecommunication services? They deserve it. So I think that the direction should be making these facilities available everywhere. You say bandits are come to attack or this has happened. And the people need to travel 50 or 100 kilometers before they can even make a call to say they are attacking us. Now, by the time you need to do 100 kilometers, the attackers are done with whatever they are doing and they have taken some distance and they are gone. So the people of the rural area also deserves to have these telecommunication services. So the approach therefore should be coming from Senate to say, okay, is it USPF that will do this?
Yeah.
That's the Universal Service Provision Fund. Is it NCC? Is it the network? Do we need to go for devices that are possibly satellite based? How many? Okay, we've got as much as 8,809 electoral wards. In how many of these do we have telephone service? In how many of these do we need to use maybe satellite services for the purpose of the election? So when you have the right tools, so it should be about tooling. It is not about looking for who to blame. It is the responsibility of the Senate and the law to ensure that the right tools are available. Such that when the elections are held,
yeah,
everybody will be able to beat their chest that we have confidence in this process and we believe that this process is credible. In which case, there will be no need for litigation. So that's where they should spend. So they should spend their time and energy at attacking the root cause as against solving the effect. Litigation is after election.
Yeah.
The election should be made credible and acceptable.
So
and
that there won't be any need for litigation.
So there won't be any need for litigation.
Now, Mr. Ben, I will come back to you in a moment. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper once again. Some parts of the Electoral Amendment Act that the Senate is hammering on. In a moment, we'll take a look at that closely. Now, Section 82, subsection 2 says amended to make notices of political party conventions and congresses more specific and time-bound. Now, you will react to this in relation to the People's Democratic Party, particularly, which has had, its own fair share of troubles regarding congresses. And then Section 12, subsection 1D, as well as Section 12, subsection 2, recognize the voting rights of inmates provided INEC makes adequate arrangements for their registration and participation in elections. I just want you to react to these two sections of the Electoral Amendment Act before we move on to the other two sections discussed.
No, definitely. Transparency in an election starts from the party. If the political party are shrouded in secrecy and shrouded in crisis, then you are going to have a situation where we are heading for troubles. At least in this nation, we've seen Zamfara voted, and after voting, because the party mismanaged their own primaries, the entire result that the people who willingly voted for APC were cancelled, and they told them they wasted their vote, and the election result was granted to the PDP. The same thing happened in Bayelsa because the party has not done the right thing with the primaries. The same thing happened in Rivers in 2019 because the primaries were not right. A party had no candidate at all. And that leaves the ruling party in the state at the time with a free table.
I believe people watching us right now will be wondering. There are rules and guidelines laid out for congresses, laid out for party conventions. These rules have been set aside by INEC. And I believe these parties have these rules as a handbook, sort of, during the process of registration. How is it possible that even with laid out rules and guidelines, parties still miss their steps during conventions and congresses?
Because they are not prepared to be transparent. From 2007 till now, we've had a lot of cases decided in court in favor of candidates contrary to whatever had happened at the polling booth.
Yeah.
And so because there are people who benefit from these shenanigans and these wrongdoings, they would definitely want it to continue because they want to continue to benefit. And the tendency is there that we've got a lot of people within our system who do not like processes and procedures. And that's why we say define the process, define the procedure, make it time bound, and ensure that they live within it. And there should not be much waivers.
Yes.
So that even in simple things within association, you see people are not ready to play by the rules. They fault deadlines, they don't meet deadlines, and then they begin to complain. So it should be that the rules are straight, the timelines are set for the parties to do all that they need to do to get back to INEC. And then INEC can also make its own plan. Because when you begin to go out of plan, it means they need to make secondary or alternative arrangements. And so things that should be ready on time are not ready because the inputs did not come from the places where they should come.
So most of the times it's an internal problem of the party, not necessarily a failure on the part of INEC.
Sometimes that is what it is. The party failed, and because they are supposed to be an input into what INEC will run, then the input is wrong. When your inputs are wrong, it is obvious that the output will be wrong.
Well, what would you say about the People's Democratic Party in relation to this? We've had quite a number of discussions on the program concerning the PDP and its woes internally.
Well, from the onset till now,
had
the PDP been without crisis? I am not sure. Apart from possibly Solomon La, which other PDP party chairman has completed his tenure appropriately? Vincent Ogbulafor resigned as a minister to become the secretary of the party. And I still remember that while he was planning to resign, one of the things he was saying, he said it here in Sheraton. I happens to be in the secretariat of, he was saying it to Ibin Chimbas, then the secretary, I think ECOWAS Secretary General at the time, that as a minister they can remove you at any time. But as the secretary of the party, you contest an election, you have a tenure. I remember that he used that word. And so he resigned as a minister, became the party secretary. He possibly was the one who said the party will be here for 60 years. But he didn't even complete his term as secretary
of the party.
He was removed. There was somebody who had a vision, so he tells you that something...
losing on the ministerial side and losing on the
the party secretary side. So he tells you that the party, and go and check it. In most cases, the party chairman, the party executive does not even complete their tenure. Something happens, and so he tells you that internally the party had issues. At the time they were in government, they could use the apparatus of government to cover up for their deficiencies. But now they are out of government, and so the resources is not enough for them to,
and that has further plunged them into more crisis.
So that has plunged them into further crisis. So it is that from the foundation, it's a building that had crisis. And so when you are now out of power, now when you have enough resource to support, you can cover the crack, do everyday repainting, do whitewashing. But the truth is that out of power, the resources, both material and people, and power to sustain the cracks is no longer there. And that's why they are where they are. It did not start today. It started long ago.
What would you say to Section 12, subsection 1 and 2 of the Electoral Amendment Act pertaining to the right of inmates to be able to vote? This is a discussion that has not really held sway in the general Nigerian political space up until now.
Well, are they citizens? The answer is yes. If they are in prison and they can learn trade and they can go to school, then I see no reason why
they shouldn't vote.
It's just that we needed to now define, okay, what are the bases? How do you register them appropriately? Now, of course, I think that we should have a way of linking our voters registration to our name. and then the transfer of voting point should be something that will be relatively more seamless than it is today. Transfer of voting point is still very complex.
Yeah.
So I think that not just for inmates, but for every other Nigerian, we need to readdress that. Sometimes when you talk about the number of voters coming down, it is because, yes, you are beginning to have the book. I'm a copper, I register in Bayelsa. Now I'm working in Benue.
Yeah.
Because the NYC, the service year is over.
And when it's
but
election
the procedure
period,
you require for me to transfer my voting point is so cumbersome that if it's something I can go in one day, do it, and then pick up the card very soon, then it means, and it doesn't have to be tied to season as far as I'm concerned. You have moved, so you might say, okay, I cannot change my voting point more than once in a year or more than once in 2 years. But it shouldn't be rocket science. I shouldn't need to abandon my job for a week or more because I needed to change my voting point. So if you make that seamless for everybody,
yeah.
So whether you are in prison or you are transferred or you are wherever you are, it means you can just sit down, make that switch, and vote where we are. So for me, it should go beyond the people who are in prison. It should be that there should be freedom of movement. Yes, you can say it's only once in a year or once in 2 years. I won't have problem with that. But changing of pool of voting point is where the strongest emphasis should be. And that would work for everybody, and that would work for people in prison. So it also means people in prison who have never been registered can register to that location afresh. And when they are released, they can move their voting point to wherever new location that they are.
Now, you mentioned something about linking the voter's card to NIN. This is also something that the Electoral Amendment Act is supposed to address. Now, this is in Section 10, subsection 2C, which adds the National Identification Number, NIN, as part of requirements for voter registration. Is this, in your opinion, a more viable way of ensuring transparency and accountability during electioneering periods and ensuring that in most cases these allegations of people being imported from other countries to come and vote in Nigeria, those allegations are also stemmed?
Well, linking the NIN to voters registration, it's actually, for me, I think that if you don't have a NIN, if you don't have a national identity number, you, especially as an adult, I consider you not to be a Nigerian. That's me.
It's as simple as that.
However, you would also need to know that in the current process, is it possible for a non-Nigerian to get a national identity number? I am not sure that they cannot get. So we need to eventually, therefore, go beyond. If it's becoming a condition and a mandatory status, we need to begin to look at how do we close the loopholes such that not every Dick and Harry, not every Tom and Jerry can come from wherever, go into the nation system, and then register. That means we need some measure of proof, we need some measure of verification about the identity of people that are doubtful before you can give them the NIN. So we need more control to be built around the NIN and ensure that those data are verifiable and correct.
All right, Mr. Ben, before we move on to yet another matter of discuss, but still staying with the Senate, let me just get your take on a recent statement concerning defections, that was raised on the floor of the Senate, where it was described as disgraceful, shameful, and an erosion of dignity of Nigeria's democracy. This is a statement in Nigeria's Senate.
Yes. Now, this is it. Like I would always say, on the average, the PDP sees itself as the people who have all the knowledge. When defections are against the PDP, it is anti-democracy. But when it is in their favor, it is a good move.
Now this statement was made by Senator Henry Siriaki Dixon of the State of
he is of the PDP.
He
in 2019, right? The 2019, to building up to 2019 election.
Yeah.
At some point, the senators, including the Senate president, left the APC for the PDP. And in fact, the PDP began to have majority in the Senate where they had minority. And at that time, PDP chairman described them, who was from the South, described them as heroes of democracy. So moving to the PDP makes you an hero. Moving away from PDP makes you disgraceful. I think it's an imbalance. When judgment favors the PDP, it is democracy.
Is this now pointing us back to the crisis of the PDP that has not been able to...
That is why their crisis cannot be resolved, because they don't face reality. What favors them is right. What they think does not favor them is wrong. If they are part of it, the party is good. If they are not on board, the party is bad.
And democracy's dignity is being eroded.
Dignity is eroded, democracy is this and that. But that's the practical reality. Movement should be movement. However, yes, we need to look at this individual. And that's why for someone like me, I will continue to insist. This presidential system is not our thing. If we go parliamentary, some of them who are in the Senate shouting and talking will likely not even make it.
Why?
Through their constituency.
Why?
Because it would have been more involving. The party at the center would not have dictated to become the candidate. A lot of people emerge as candidates against the run of things in their local environment, perhaps because the governor or the party at the federal level has vested interest in them. To a large extent, you know that you can't come overnight in a parliamentary system and say you are the leader of the party. No, you've got to have a track record with the party. You've got to have a track record with the people. You can't just come from anywhere and say you are representing Lagos as a minister. Somebody did from 2007 to 2014, who for me is not an indigene of Lagos, was not resident in Lagos, he might have been born there, does not even have an electoral ward.
Who was that?
Of course, Segun Agagan. Segun Agagan is from Edo State, born in Lagos, but he came from the abroad to be minister representing Lagos, substantive minister for 8 years.
And you think that is wrong?
Where is his electoral ward? In Lagos.
Is it proven that he did not have or still doesn't have an electoral ward in Lagos?
Tell me. I've been asking and nobody has been able to tell me that this is his electoral ward, this is his polling unit, this is where he sat and met with the PDP members in Lagos for his 8 years as minister.
How did you do it?
Well, the party wanted him, is it not? And the party picked him. Even when all the senators from Lagos said no.
But the party insisted.
The party, of course, the Senate still approved his position. Because the idea then was that if 2 of the 3 senators says no to a minister, the minister should not be proven. But I know that the 3 ministers from Lagos, senators from Lagos, said no to Segun Agagan. But Segun Agagan still made it.
And the Senate confirmed him.
Yes, to represent Lagos as the minister. So it tells you something somewhere is wrong with the structure and the system
of our current democracy.
Yeah.
So you are of the opinion that if there was a shift from our democratic, system of government to a parliamentary style,
which is more inclusive,
then the occurrences like the one you cited would certainly not take place, and there will be more transparency.
Yes.
But how possible is that in the current dispensation?
Well, those are the things we should be looking forward to. And that's why those who said it is not constitutional amendment, but a constitutional change that we require have some points.
What's the difference?
The difference is you are amending what you have, right? Okay, this is a house. You have a pot. The pot is leaking. And then you are fixing it, and then it's not cooking what will feed everybody.
That's an amendment.
That's an amendment. But you take out that pot and you put a new pot that will possibly serve the interest of everybody and meet the need. Something that is more practicable. In the current constitution, we have a lot of issues. People want maybe some form of region. I have not seen where the constitution defines geopolitical zones. But we want that geopolitical affiliation and toga, right? we want this, we want that. But those things are not acceptable or sitting down with the constitution of the day. Now, the constitution of the day gave so much, put the local government, in my opinion, in the pocket of the governor. Now we are trying to get the Supreme Court to save them. Supreme Court is like making new laws when they take decisions. I agree. But why don't we sit down, deconstruct this constitution, and come up with something new that is acceptable to all of us? Whether it was the 2000, the Obasanjo Constitution Conference or the Jonathan Constitution Conference, go and check it. They both tend towards some measure of parliamentary. They both talked about some measure of rotation. They both talk about some measure of having part-time legislature, which...
Now, Mr. Ben, before we move on to, you know, the oil and gas sector and Dangote Refinery's proposal of a certain percentage sale of stake in his refinery, in the last couple of weeks or months, we have seen a lot of defections from, you know, other political parties to the ruling All Progressives Congress. Most recently, we saw 2 senators defecting to the APC. We saw the governor of Enugu State defecting as well. And, you know, with the entire party structure of the PDP into the APC, the same thing applied to the governor of Bayelsa State. And Nigerians have been pointing fingers at APC and the Tinubu-led administration, saying that, you know what, before 2027 election comes by, we might just have a one-party state in Nigeria. What are your thoughts and what is your disposition on this?
We are not going to have a one-party state.
It looks like we are heading that
those
way.
who are saying that, I think, are just trying to, in my opinion, create storm in a teacup. I would always say there are people in PDP that are not acceptable to the APC in Ekiti. Same goes for Osun. Same goes for Oyo. There are people who are currently in the PDP that will not come. Or if they decide to come to the APC, they will not welcome them. As demoralized as PDP is in Ondo State today, there are still some elements in the PDP folk who will not come to the APC. Kano has NNPP. They have a governor.
Yeah.
Some other parties have their members who had not left. When people were leaving, or when PDP was capturing everybody from 2003 to 2011, nobody talked about the fear of a one-party state. At least it was in the midst of that capturing that they went, oh, we will be here we will rule for 60 years. It was the process of the capturing. But the 60 eventually became 16, and today the party keeps going down from maybe having 28 or 24 governors to having much less. So I think that we need to focus on the elected people. Are they doing their job?
Yes.
If we measure them based on that, and let's leave the story of a one-party state or no one-party state, I don't think that Sule Lamido from Jigawa would ever leave the PDP for APC. So as long as there are people who won't leave their party and cross, then the issue of one-party state is not at stake. But it is for those other individual parties that are left to hone in to their grassroots and their base and retain their member. Changing the name, when it was NEPA, we say it's PHCN.
PHCN.
Then from PHCN, we have Discos and Genco.
Discos, yeah.
But when they take light today, what do people still say? It's still up NEPA. Even children that were not born
when NEPA existed,
they still know it that way.
Yeah.
It tells you that they have found a place with the people with that name. So the PDP, the ADC, the Labour Party need to go and find a place with the people rather than the rhetorics of we are in the danger of a one-party state. I don't think that we are. Because if we actually were in the danger of one-party state, go back. There were points where the PDP had had two-thirds majority in the houses. And that's why we were talking about Agaga and some other ministers. Even when the people from their state say no, they eventually still got the position that
that they wanted to get.
because the party had majority that can determine in the houses. But nobody accused the PDP at the time or the government at the time of pursuing the mission of a one-party state. We have 6 governors in the Southwest who were AD in 2003. Immediately after that election, it prunes down from 6 to 1. The PDP cleared the other 5, and they came back and told all of us they have captured those states. So, in the era where they were capturing, there was no danger of one-party state.
But now because the APC is capturing,
it is not in their interest. It is not even APC, in my opinion, capturing. They created the crisis that led to some of these people wanting to leave.
All right, Mr. Ben, let's move on to yet another matter of discuss this morning. It's concerning Dangote Refinery and, of course, the oil and gas sector. The refinery, as we know it, has been embroiled in some sort of scuffle with labor unions in the country, including Pengassan and Nupeng. And this morning, we hear an announcement that Dangote Refinery is set to sell or to enlist about 10% stake on NGX. This is a news that has excited Nigerian investors. What is your position on this, Mr. Ben? Selling off 10% stake, is this good news?
Selling off 10% stake is good for both the company and for the people.
Why is that so?
It widens the stakeholders base. So it's no longer you seeing it as his property, it becomes more of our business.
Our business. As Nigerians. So for the people who buys into the 10%, but we now need to know what are the rules that will follow the buying. Is it just everybody that is interested who will be able to pull the stake, or you are still going to look for core people who is buying the 10%? If it will be open for all, then it means that, okay, if you value the refinery at maybe 20 or 25 billion by now, then you are saying that about $2.5 billion is coming to the capital market. The capital market via NGX.
Via the NGX. So he can recuperate. Of course, the company gets an immediate source of fund even from that. And if they still have ongoing loan, that could service their loan, that could fund their improvement. But on a wider basis, it gives more sense of ownership to a larger number of people and should possibly increase their stability and the perspective that they begin to win among the people.
Now Dangote Refinery, particularly, as I was introducing the topic earlier, I said it has been embroiled in a lot of fights. It appears that unionism, especially in the oil and gas sector, is out to get Dangote Refinery and perhaps destroy the efforts that the billionaire businessman has been putting into our oil and gas sector. And there's been a radical shift from NNPCL to Dangote Refinery. We hear this morning that the House of Reps is moving to protect private investments from adversarial unionism. Is this a step in the right direction?
No, definitely it's a step in the right direction. Is he politics 101 that person called the rhyme? He said, when he was talking about communists, he said, if you have 2 cows, communists will say, give the 2 to the government. We will give you milk. He said, but if you say, you state trade union, will say, we'll pour away the milk
and kill the
cow. So sometimes unionism can be negative to development if it's not properly managed. Staffs need to be protected. I agree with that. But then there should also be responsibility on the part of the union to ensure that, because the basis why they are staff is that the business exists. If the business collapse, they will not continue to be
employed.
They will not continue to be employee because there is no business to employ them.
Exactly.
So to a large extent, therefore, we need to look at that. And of course, when you come to Nupeng and Pengassan, I have this personal issue with them. Till tomorrow, they have not told us what engagement they got with their members who were in the local refineries, whether it is Warri, Port Harcourt, or Kaduna refineries at the time. For so long, the refineries were not working. But their members who were in those places were paying union dues. Their members who were in those places were earning salary. They were proceeding on retirement after 20 years of not having produced 1 liter of petrol. They were going for international tours.
Yet the unions did not protest.
And yes, the union did not protest that our members are employed in this refinery and they have nothing to do.
Yeah.
They didn't see anything wrong in that. And so I think that to an extent, for me, I have groused with Nupen and Pengassan. That our refinery, a lot was going wrong in the petroleum sector, especially in the public aspect, and they did absolutely nothing. At least in the public space, we didn't see what they are doing. Yeah. Rather, they were doing more of going to take over Trade Union Congress. Doing more of taking over TUC, and they've ran TUC, in my opinion, from about 2009 till now. It's been more of Pengassan people doing all the talking and doing all the action.
No, of course, the leader of the TUC also doubles as the leader of Pengassan.
That's, of course, even Esele was leading Pengassan before he came to lead TUC. In about 2010, 2011, 2012 or thereabout. Yeah. So it's been a case of they are just, for me, coasting on unionism. Yes, the strength of their home base, the fact that there is so much money in the union, but they should go beyond that and work for the nation. Now, their disagreement with Dangote is not because some of us would want to speak for Dangote, but it is that if you treat a Nigerian the way you are treating treating Dangote, what confidence are you giving to external investors to come and invest in that sector or any sector in Nigeria? So you will realize that the back and forth and the troubles with Dangote goes beyond Pengassan and Dangote, Dapman and Dangote, but trickles down to the fact that we are now in the age of information. Whatever you are doing in Nigeria is not within you. Before you even do it, it's already on the internet. And global investors can see it. We have a large number of people. There are over 200 million people, and a lot of Nigerians talk without control. And so it means that you, without even making effort to investigate a matter in Nigeria, you can sit at your screen and get so much information that are genuine. Some of which are even supposed to be classified. People put them there online before they are declassified.
Particularly on X.
So with that happening, a crisis or a seeming crisis against the Dangote Refinery is a negative spell to anybody outside. We still have bitumen, we have other solid minerals, we have agriculture, and we're looking at so much people coming in to invest, but we are treating our own person. And there is a way they say it in my place, right? They say, you know, in a polygamous home, you have children that are from your mother, you have children that are from another mother. Now, they say when you want to show that you are mean, you test your sham on your mother's child. That once you have done that, every other person will know that
you mean business.
You are indeed mean, and they should avoid you. And I think that if we treat Dangote wrongly, that is the kind of signal that we are sending to the rest of the world. If you bring your money into Nigeria, the union might frustrate you and get you miserable.
Now, one of the reports this morning is concerning NNPCL, where it says that the revenue generally has declined in September, with NNPCL making a 216 billion naira PAT only. Could this be as a result of the disruption of the system by Dangote Refinery, something that a lot of observers of the oil and gas sector have hammered on time and time again, that indeed it is good, but on the other hand, it could be affecting NNPCL negatively?
Well, NNPC is not into active refining. So Dangote should even be good for their business because they have crude. They have a source of delivering crude that is close by.
Yeah.
So it's not that you are even collecting money to distribute to supply in 3 months' time. It is that under 1 week you can do the supply.
And there's also an
and get
option
the
of
transaction
Naira for crude
completed.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is about Dangote. But of course, if you are looking at, if it is the month of September, you possibly are looking at the Pengassan activities, the strikes, the uncertainties, and the rest that happens. Of course, would have affected the flow stations and some other NNPC businesses much more than it affects even Dangote Refinery. That's the practical reality.
Yeah.
Because Pengassan and Pengassan majorly are more involved with the external trades and the rest of that. And we're talking of doing 2 million barrels or close to 2 million barrels per day. If you are doing 2 million barrels per day or 1 million barrels, let's even be conservative. If you do only 1 million barrels per day, it means that in 1 day at $70, for instance, you are doing 70 billion. Is it not?
Exactly.
So if you then shut down for 2 days, you are losing 140
and that
billion.
that could be attributed to the loss,
to the strike. So that could account. A 1 day strike in that sector is huge against the NNPC. And that's why some of us would always insist, when you talk about petrol and the petroleum sector in Nigeria, it is a security product. Petrol is a security product and should be protected. So that's why sometimes people saying, why should the National Security Advisor get? No. For me, apart from the military, the next most important place that the national security should have eye on
is the oil and gas sector.
The oil and gas sector. Nothing should go wrong in that place before you come to power.
Well, quite.
So those two. Energy is a security thing and should be taken
with so much security seriousness,
consciousness, and seriousness.
All right, Mr. Ben, we have just about 10 minutes to wrap up the discourse on the program this morning. Still talking about security, like Mr. Ben had ended his last statement. This time around, it is concerning a certain threat released by ISWAP to states in the southwest and the north central. Now we hear that Kogi and Ondo State, alongside other states in these regions, are gearing up to douse the tensions while assuring citizens that they are safe. This is as the Niger State Governor, Umar Bago, has asked Nigerians, or particularly Niger State citizens, to ensure they protect themselves against bandits and terrorist attacks. Quite a very controversial topic this morning. Insecurity is not new to Nigeria, and it appears that every single morning when we have discussions surrounding the state of security in the country, it's becoming worse.
You see, it's good to respond to threats.
Yeah.
Agreed. But there should be more definitive things that are done. I don't know for how long, or for almost 2 years now, or more than a year, Solid Minerals is talking about the mining rangers.
Yeah.
If you have trained them and equipped them, they should be in the forest. The president talks about the federal forest service.
God, yes.
What? That's almost 8 months now or 1 year. Where are we on that? By now, we should have had the states and the Ministry of Environment, who possibly have the forest in part, telling us what they have done. How are these people going to be recruited? How are they going to be trained? How are they going to be deployed? So if you are saying, okay, there is this forest that runs between Edo, Kogi, and Ondo State, for instance.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, let the Edo North and the Kogi North, Kogi South, and Kogi West, I think, and the Ondo North.
Yes.
This forest is between you. So let's train your men together, because they would always have a meeting point. The 3 states have a common boundary somewhere. So it means the forest can be policed from the Edo side. can be managed from the Kogi side, can be managed from the Ondo side.
But
you have not even
in
put
doing
these
this,
guards in place.
In doing this, apart from the forest guards,
Yeah.
If you compare the two states, Ondo and Kogi,
Yeah,
Ondo on its part has the Amotekun,
yeah.
of course, in the entire southwest, which Ondo is part of. But we can't say the same for Kogi.
No, Kogi also has some form of interventional systems.
What interventional system is that?
They've got some kind of, whether they are hunters or they might not have given them a broad name.
But
like
they
Amotekun.
exist.
But they exist. Kogi has
And you think
structure.
there can be a collaboration between the Amotekun and these hunters?
Of course.
To go into the forest and flush out these bandits or terrorists who are already threatened.
Over time, they've collaborated. But like we said, the bite or the boots on ground will not be the same thing as you having the federal or the forest guard system in place. That would be their primary responsibility. Yes, they will collaborate with Amotekun on that side, collaborate with whatever Edo is having on that side, collaborate with the guys in Kogi on the other side. But the reality is that we need to do something as quickly as possible about the forest. It is in the forest that there are ungoverned spaces. The president has come up with what some of us see as a permanent solution or a more sustainable solution to the issues in the forest. Why then is there delay in engaging these people? Because if today you say they are here and then you rush, you call soldiers, they rush there. The soldiers you are calling to pull into Ondo and Kogi today are definitely being pulled away from somewhere. And you don't train new soldiers over 30 days. You possibly need 6 to 9 months. Now, in the 6 to 9 months period, what happens to the places where you have pulled those people for? It means you cannot even keep them where you have taken them to for too long. As soon as they are done with the operation, they have to be sent back or move to another. Now, when you move, that place become what? Empty.
And ungoverned and
ungoverned as well.
And
then it means that these guys, if they have not all died, can always move back to take possession.
Now let's get the comments of the Niger State Governor, Governor Omar Bago, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Governor Bago says on insecurity, in a moment we'll take a look at the Vanguard. On insecurity, defend yourselves. Governor Bago charges Niger residents, vows never to negotiate or pay ransom to bandits. This last statement, Mr. Ben, is something that a lot of governors who govern states that have been ravaged by banditry always boast of. We will not negotiate, we will not pay ransom to bandits. But that is not the case in states, in places like Zamfara, that we see the governor or the government actively engaging in peace talks with bandits and even paying ransom for kidnapped victims or abducted citizens to be released.
You see, it's a lesson learned. Kaduna did it, it never solved the problem. In the early days of El-Rufai, Katsina did, it didn't solve the problem. Zamfara did, and they are still not, the problem has still not been solved. So I think that the way of negotiating with bandits is not the right way to go. Niger, I was there, I think, on a safe school program last year, and you could see the level of coordination. Yes, the state is quite large. Even the police will tell you that there are places so we can't get to, but we still cover them because there are hunters who we collaborate.
Collaborate and
you have the
sort of
vigilante system, you have the hunter system, and a number of others in place. So when the governor is saying protect yourself, he's not saying every individual resident
should pick up arms.
No, but it's more like within your environment there are structures in place to help safeguard you. Respect those structures, provide the right information, and then things can be in order. When, of course, people were invading schools in Minna and its environment, he needed to at some point declare a curfew. So it's situational action. That's what he's doing. He has invested so much in infrastructure. He's investing so much in infrastructure. He has invested so much in agriculture. And so he needed the people to stay on the farm. He needed the people to work. And so what he's saying is, yes, he might not, now again, he's the governor, he's the chief security officer. I do not expect him to come on the press and tell you all that he has done with the security forces, with the non-state actors and the rest. No. But all he can do is to encourage the people to say, look, you have not so much to fear, but at least make provision for your own safety. When you see something, say it. If you see security forces around, support them so that they can do their work and do it well. Because in the end, it will be for your own protection. Yeah. So talking about civic responsibility to ensuring security is not the same as telling everybody, go and carry weapons. Because even when you carry the weapon, who will train you to use it? The bandits they've already got their training. So even if you have the same class of weapon with the bandits,
you won't operate
the chances are that you will not be able to overpower them. Yeah. Because one is there is going to be surprise element in the attack, and before you get yourself together, they are possibly more professional with the firearms, and so a lot would have gone wrong. So I think that the statement for me is not out of place, and it should not be quoted out of context. It should just be seen as he is putting it in place, that security is the responsibility of everybody, and that each person must make effort to play his own role.
All right, Mr. Ben, quite a fine place to leave the discussion this morning. I must thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been wonderful dissecting some of these topical issues. Well, that has been Mr. Ben Agunloye speaking to us on matters of national interest, starting off with the Senate and its proposal of a mandatory transmission of electronic transmission of election results in the country. We also touched on Dangote Refinery and the NNPCL within the oil and gas sector, and of course matters of national security with a threat by ISWAP and states in the north central and the southwest gearing up for a possible attack, but Governor of Niger State has assured that no such attack will take place and that the government and security forces are ever ready to take on these non-state actors. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will continue the discussion on Morning Express with other dimensions of issues in the news. Do well to stay with us.